Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, we're going to look at Joe Biden's running mate specifically, and why I believe that Amy Klobuchar specifically would be a very good choice for him, and why I do believe that um, she'll be able to pull him over the finish line in the 2020 US election. I think his running mate really is an important pick for many reasons. Firstly, to possibly take over as president in the event of Biden only running for one term, which he's made pretty clear that he wouldn't say no to, that he might have to do. And just someone that can pull in all kinds of different voters, someone that's respected amongst progressives, importantly, but also can pull in the independent vote. And really reach out, and as a moderate kind of person that's not got the scandals of the likes of Hillary Clinton, which lost the election in 2016 despite her political standing as very much a moderate. I think Klobuchar is very respected amongst many people, as well as having the crucial Rust Belt appeal that can win the election single-handedly. Obviously, if you had the 2016 map, all Hillary Clinton needed was Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and she would have won. So that's how crucial it is, and that's why I believe that Amy Klobuchar should be chosen as Joe Biden's running mate. So we'll start, as usual, with the safe states. So we'll start with the Democrats. All of the Northeast, except for Maine's 1st district. And Hawaii. And then for the Republicans, all these safe states: Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, Missouri, Indiana, and Alaska. So we'll start on the West Coast and we'll work east. So we'll start with Nevada. I do think, even though Bernie did a lot better than Biden here in the primaries, it's trending blue. You had the Senate seat gain in 2018. Obviously, 2012 to 2016, it did trend red, but I think Biden would turn that around, shown by the 2018 midterms partly. And I think Klobuchar could help in the Southwest, which we can see by Arizona. I do think Klobuchar can help solidify that somewhat in the Democratic column. I do believe it would still be under 2%, even with Klobuchar, because she doesn't have the area, it's not her kind of area, the Southwest, but politically, ideologically, it very much aligns with her politics, and I do believe that a lot of people in the state of Arizona would respect her. Obviously, you have the Senate, Kirsten Sinema as a senator there, and Mark Kelly, who looks like he's gonna probably beat Martha McSally in 2020, and they're both very much moderate Democrats, very much politically aligned with Biden and Klobuchar, and I do think Arizona would vote for the Democrats and would continue the pretty blue 2016 trend. So we'll move on to Colorado and New Mexico. I think that both of these will go likely. I think Colorado would, although it would favour more like a Bernie kind of candidate. Obviously, you have Biden talking about marijuana being a gateway drug and all of that stuff, which probably isn't the most popular stuff to talk about in the likes of Colorado. However, the states, just demographically, just trend-wise, it would pretty easily stay in the Biden column. I think just over 5 points. Obviously, it didn't really trend red in 2016. Ever so slightly, it did. But Obama and Clinton both won it by over 5, and I think Biden would do the same, if not possibly a bit more. Moving on to Texas, I do think that Texas would still go likely for the GOP. I think Trump and Pence would win this by probably just over 5 points, similar to Colorado, but the other way. I don't think it's ready to go blue yet. I think 2024, 2028 maybe. it can be thrown in the toss-up column. I'll probably do a video on Texas by itself, actually, and how influential those 38 electoral votes can be if the Democrats were to hold on to them, or were to gain them in a future election, and how hard it would be for the Republicans to get back from that. But for now, I think it wouldn't get close to the likes of the 2018 margins. We'll move on to Georgia. I think that Georgia would go lean, probably by around 3 or 4. There's an argument, obviously, for Biden to choose someone like Stacey Abrams to see if the Democrats could flip Georgia. But I think even with her, I don't think Georgia's ready either to flip. I think it would probably narrow down to maybe 1 or 2 points. But I just don't think it's strong enough to go to the Democrats yet, which is another reason why I think Biden should choose someone like Klobuchar instead, because I think she would have some kind of appeal down here with the very moderate Democrat politics. And Abrams might improve on Klobuchar by a couple of points purely because she's from the state, but I don't think that she would be able to flip it. Whereas I think Klobuchar could have a much greater influence in the Rust Belt than Abrams could in the South. Florida, I think, would also go to Trump probably by a similar margin to how it did in 2016, 1 to 2 points. So I put it in the tilt column. Again, I think Klobuchar's politics could help down here, but I think Florida has a very historic record of supporting incumbents. And if you look at things like 2018, it did vote to the right of the rest of the country. And I think it will probably stay in the Trump column, which is key for him. North Carolina will be, I think this would be incredibly close in this scenario, because you have high African American turnout, inevitable with Biden. Klobuchar's not that attractive to the African American vote, it seems, but as shown in the primaries. But I think Biden would sweep that up anyway. And Klobuchar would come across quite appealing to quite a few voters here. I do think it would be very close, but ultimately I do still believe that it will go to Trump. The last time the Democrats won it was with Obama in 2008, and that was an incredibly tight margin, just a few thousand votes in that. So I think it will be hard for the Democrats to flip it. I think it's possible, but as it stands, start of May, I don't think that the Democrats will, even with someone like Klobuchar on the ticket. Virginia will go likely to the Democrats. I think this is pretty safe, to be honest. I think possibly around 8 points even here. Klobuchar would be pretty popular here, resonate quite well with the establishment kind of voters, especially around the North Virginia. And then Biden himself is a very establishmentarian kind of candidate that would really appeal to the voters here. So I think Virginia's pretty safe. We'll go to Nebraska second. Now, I actually do think that Biden will pull this off with Klobuchar on the ticket. It's pretty close to the kind of Midwestern kind of area of the country. And I do think that it did trend very much to the Democrats, even in 2016. Trump won it over Clinton by only around 2. And I think Biden would flip it in this scenario. I think Iowa and Ohio would go lean for Donald Trump still, despite Klobuchar. This is really kind of getting into Klobuchar's kind of territory now. But I think they went so far to Republicans in 2016 that it would be hard for those two to change and flip back to the Democrats. We'll move up to the northeast. We'll move to New Hampshire. I think this will go likely for Biden and Klobuchar. I think just solely, even just looking at Trump's disapproval here, it's so high that I don't think he has a chance in New Hampshire, really. He couldn't win it in 2016. I don't think he'll win it now. If you look at Maine, I think Maine's second would still go to Trump, probably by a lean margin, probably just under 5. It went by over 10 in 2016, but I do think it would narrow down a bit. Obviously, it did go to the likes of Obama, but then really swung away from the Democrats. I do think it would stay Republican, though. However, Maine at large, I think, would lean to the Democrats probably by a few points, maybe 3 or 4, slightly larger than Hillary. Biden won the primaries here, and I think that he would win on the presidential level. We'll move to Minnesota, Klobuchar's home state. I think this will go likely. I think this will go by almost 10 points in the scenario. She's incredibly popular in the state. She's really well loved here. So yeah, I think Minnesota's a dead certainty for the Democrats, whereas it could narrow down with a different candidate. I do think her appeal would carry over to the likes of Wisconsin, and I do think Biden would actually win Wisconsin in this scenario, despite my previous prediction where I said Trump would win it. I think with Klobuchar on the ticket, it would look a lot more attractive for Democrats here. You have independent appeal. So I do think that the Democrats would just about pip it here by probably under 1%, but I do think they would take it. And then Michigan, I do think Klobuchar's appeal would get less in Michigan and Pennsylvania. But I stand by the fact that I think Biden will win here. He swept the primaries. Obviously, by this point, a lot of people thought it was over anyway. But Michigan was still a shock to go to Biden by that much of a high margin. So I do think Biden would take Michigan probably by a lean margin, maybe by around 3 points or so. And then finally Pennsylvania, Biden's home state, I think similarly would go by a lean margin with Klobuchar on the ticket. As I say, her influence I think would get a bit less in this part of the country, but I do still think that she would help in this kind of in the area because she's very relatable to a lot of voters here. And yeah, I do think Biden would sweep the Rust Belt in this case with Klobuchar on the ticket, despite maybe not having the most progressive appeal. I do think that a lot of progressives would very much just kind of hold their nose and vote for them, because I think a lot of them do respect Klobuchar a lot because she stands up for what she believes in, and she's a really strong senator that I think would be a really solid vice president. So yeah, that's my prediction with Biden and Klobuchar. I might do a few others with other potential running mates. He's not due to choose his running mate for a while yet, so we've got a bit of time to kind of speculate as to the different scenarios with different vice presidential picks. But this is what I believe will happen in this case. Biden and Klobuchar on 290 and Trump and Pence on 248. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.